The 9 provinces of Tamriel have continually fought and made peace with each other for hundreds of years, and will presumably continue to do so far into the future. The comings and goings of the various empires have unified the provinces for a time and secured peace, but always the continent descends back into its natural warlike state. In the 4th era, the era that Skyrim takes place, the continent is on the verge of unravelling yet again, with each province wrestling with internal and external strife. So which province in this time of immense upheaval is strongest in terms of military and economic power, if we ignore all allegiances and consider only each province within its natural defined border? I also want to say that this video is very speculative. There's a lack of solid evidence as to what the other provinces are like in the time of Skyrim, but we do have a pretty good idea. I'll organise the provinces in this video into 5 tiers. Bottom tier being the band of weakest provinces, then the next 4th tier being made up of the less powerful provinces, then 3rd tier consisting of stable, moderately powerful states, 2nd tier being made up of provinces that are very strong, and top tier being made up of effectively the superpowers of Tamriel. Beginning with the bottom tier, we have the homeland of the Dunmer, Morrowind, which I'm guessing comes as no surprise to anyone. Morrowind has come at the bottom of this list due to the disastrous event called the Red Year, which took place 200 years before Skyrim and yet still has a profound effect on the province today. The Red Year compromises the events caused by the meteor Bawadar crashing into Vivek City and destroying the nearby area. However, this meteor crash also inadvertently caused the eruption of Red Mountain, which destroyed the face of Ardenfell and killed thousands upon thousands of Dunmer. Cities and settlements across this expansive land were reduced to rubble, leaving Morrowind a shadow of its former self. However, to make matters worse, a year after this event, the Argonians of Black Marsh invaded the southern half of Morrowind, capitalising on this disaster, and relentlessly they advanced and sacked Morrowind's capital city, Mournhold, the jewel of the province. Whilst the Argonian horde was eventually repulsed by the Veteran forces, the damage had been done, and the southern half of Morrowind lay in ruin. 200 years later, in the time of Skyrim, the province still hasn't fully recovered from these disasters, which destroyed the state's economy and military, making it one of the weakest provinces. In the 4th tier, we have 2 provinces equally weighted in their power, Valenwood and Elsewhere. Both of these provinces are of course part of the Old Merry Dominion, but we are considering their power separately, without Dominion influence, of course. The Dominion organises and runs each province, so without the Dominion, each province would likely have little organisation or internal structure, obviously making them weaker, and arguably both these provinces haven't ruled themselves fully internally for a considerable time, since before the Dominion they were ruled by the Empire for hundreds of years. Little is known of Elsewhere and Valenwood's military strength. However, one would assume that as each province relies on the Dominion for protection, that they would have little more than a guard force for their own internal administration. Thus, each province would be fairly weak due to this reliance on the Summerset Isles for governance and protection, although economically, one would assume each province to be stable, and so they would both have the potential to build up sufficient armies and navies if they so wished. The harsh deserts and dense rainforests of Elsewhere and Valenwood respectively would also mean that each province would be hard to invade and occupy at any rate. In tier 3, as moderately stable and strong provinces, we have High Rock, Hammerfell and Skyrim. Each of these provinces boasts a talented military, and each province also has a stable economy, although arguably, due to the Skyrim Civil War, Skyrim could be the weakest out of these 3 here provinces. Little is known of High Rock, apart from the fact that it is still part of the Empire, and so presumably relies on its protection from its legions, and that the province is also stable. Also, we know the denizens of High Rock, the Bretons, are one of the most talented magic-using races on the continent, and so if push comes to shove, the Bretons would no doubt make use of this natural aptitude for magic against their enemies, although more often than not they will actually just attack each other. High Rock's ruling families are characterised as often warring and feuding amongst themselves endlessly for power, so this would of course diminish their overall power. Adjacent to High Rock is of course Skyrim, a wealthy province with a robust army and stable economy. At least it would have this, if not for the civil war raging there. The reason I place this war-torn land as a mid-tier province is since Skyrim, if its civil unrest is quelled quickly, has the potential to quickly recuperate and build a large standing army as well as a navy due to its relatively robust economy, and trade with the rest of the empire. Not to mention the fact that the Nords themselves are a hardy people, and some of the most talented warriors on the continent reside in this province. Hammerfell, however, is arguably the strongest of these mid-tier provinces, possessing an incredibly talented military that was previously able to single-handedly fend off the might of the Old Merry Dominion, an entity arguably much larger and more powerful than Hammerfell. Whilst Hammerfell is made up of large, inhospitable deserts and may not boast a particularly powerful economy, its army is one of the most formidable in Tamriel, especially when it comes to defending their homeland. In the second tier, consisting of very strong provinces, we have Black Marsh, which arguably has the potential to create an empire of its own in the future. This contrasts with the Argonians' typical role in Tamrielic history of being the underdogs and slaves of other peoples, as under the leadership of the Untitled and the influence of the Hist, the Argonians' organisation at present is almost unrivaled in Tamriel, and the Argonians themselves have become a formidable fighting force, destroying much of the Dunmer's homeland in their invasion at the beginning of the 4th era. The Hist imbues the Argonians with strength and warns the race of reptiles of any impending dangers, meaning that the Argonians are always prepared for disaster and are ready to act. An example of this would be the Oblivion Crisis, where the Argonians were so well prepared for the event due to the Hist's warning that they soundly defeated the Daedric forces and actually invaded Oblivion to the point where Dagon had to close all his Oblivion gates in Black Marsh. This is a clear indication that due to the Argonians' resilience and strength of will, they can seemingly bypass insurmountable obstacles and achieve feats never expected of them. Although that being said, Black Marsh is an introverted province and nothing is known about how wealthy the Argonians are, and a robust economy and wealth is a massive factor when it comes to exerting prolonged military strength. In our highest first tier of the most powerful provinces, we have of course Cyrodiil and the Summerset Isles, respectively the driving forces of the Empire and the Old Merry Dominion. Cyrodiil possesses the most disciplined and largest army present on Tamriel, and it is also the wealthiest province on the continent, trading with many other provinces. Even at its weakest state, the Empire's military could repel the Old Merry Dominion's advances, testifying that the Imperials do indeed possess the continent's most powerful military, not necessarily due to tactics or equipment they possess, but due to sheer numbers. The Summerset Isles, on the other hand, have perhaps the most powerful navy present on Tamriel, which means that as it's an island province, it's incredibly hard to invade, especially compared to Cyrodiil, which is an expansive province with little natural defences. It should also be mentioned that the Isles can also field some of the most advanced spec ops on the continent, so what the High Elves lack in numbers, one could argue they make up for in prowess. Although the Isles do trade with Valenwood and elsewhere at least, it's not known if in the time of Skyrim the Isles are trading with any other nations, which would weaken them economically, especially compared to Cyrodiil. Cyrodiil, on the other hand, trades with a large range of other provinces and possesses the East Empire Trade Company, the richest trade organisation on Tamriel, which would indicate that Cyrodiil is economically superior. All in all, it is mostly a tie between Cyrodiil and the Summerset Isles for the title of most powerful province economically and militarily, although due to the Imperial province's presumably superior economy and vaster military, Cyrodiil would thus be slightly more powerful, although we can't be sure. And it's also interesting to note that Black Marsh is a definite contender for the most powerful province, but due to a lack of information, we simply can't say. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching this video. If you want to see more, then feel free to check out all the other Elder Scrolls lore videos and discussion videos I have on my channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.